All right, welcome everyone. Sorry to keep you waiting, but we've just been getting everyone in here, and we've got a number of e-teachers in here. So the idea here is just to have a fairly relaxed and formal discussion chat about what it's like to be an e-teacher or a teacher in the online space. You know, someone who teaches a fully online course, and with all the furor currently sort of doing the rounds around the amendment bill and how terrible it is for students to be or kids to be doing online learning. It'd be good to give some perspective on this, and especially, you know, what it's like for a teacher. No one's really talked about the teachers too much. They've talked about the students a lot, but in terms of the teaching, what it's like and what it can give you, and I suppose also some of the challenges, the uniqueness of the environment. So what we'll do is just go around and just introduce yourself. If you can just, I'll start to give you an example. Just give name, school, how long you've been teaching. Hopefully that's not, when I say how long you've been teaching online. Otherwise we might get ourselves in trouble. And then just any more background, what subject you teach or course, etc. Okay, so my name's Darren Sudlow. I've been teaching online for 8 years, and over that time I've taught classics, both level 2 and 3, and history. And over the last couple of years I've been teaching crafting history, which is sort of using Minecraft in a formal historical context in a way. So that's me. So Angela?
Hi, I'm Angela Mitchell, and I am full-time teacher here at Ashburton College, and I've been teaching online. This is just my second year, so I started last year, and I teach level 3 economics. So I have an online class of level 3 economics, and then I also teach a level 3 economics class here at Ashburton College. So yeah, some of the teaching that I do online I can use in my my face-to-face class as well.
Thanks, Angela. And we've got Carolyn.
Hi, I'm Carolyn. I'm from Reefton Area School, and I've been teaching online for 8 years. And like Darren, I've taught classics at both level 2 and 3, and this year I'm teaching history at level 2.
Awesome, thanks, Carolyn. Justin?
Your order's different to mine. How rude. I'm Justin Thompson. I've been teaching online for 3 or 4 years. I've been doing sort of online learning for a bit longer than that. I teach level 1 geography, and I'm the E-Dean at Oxford Area School, so I'm in charge of about 18 students doing all the other different subjects that are available.
Thanks for that, Justin. Yes, if you're an E-Dean as well, do mention that, and how many students you have. It's slightly different perspectives, good to know. And we've got Marie and Linda, so if you guys want to go ahead.
Hi, Linda Walsh-Pascoe from Roxburgh Area School. Are you hearing me? Oh yeah, you're in there. And I've been teaching, I must be the grandma, because I've been teaching about 14 years, level 2 and 3 physical education, and at times scholarship physical education. We've transgressed to this new platform, but I think I've done every other platform in between. And I'm also the E-Dean here. We've got about 30 of our year 11 to 13 students that are involved in, some of them doing 4 or 5 subjects, some of them doing 1 subject, and Marie here teaches chemistry. I can't remember how many years I've been doing it, sorry. So I do level 2 and level 3 chemistry.
Fantastic, thanks for that. And we've got a mix of teachers from different parts of the region, which is quite good. I mean, we've got some from Otago, West Coast, and Canterbury, and each of those regions. Whoops, sorry, you give my window in behind. Someone, Justin, was that sort of a Jedi mind trick or something? Did not notice my, so if I, apologies, my window is behind me now. So so we've got teachers who actually have been involved for the likes of Otago Net, Canternet, or what was Canternet, for a really long time, and others who are a bit new. So Marina, over to you.
Hi, I'm Marina. Sorry, I got a phone call from Dunedin. I've taught for 4 years online. This is my 4th year. I teach level 1 economics. I teach at Rangiora New Life School, and I actually, like Ange, have a level 1 economics class here at Rangiora New Life, and I use the same resources for both my classes. Makes planning wonderful.
Thank you, Marina. And lastly, and we've got Sarah.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Lake and I teach at Marion College. I think this is my 3rd, maybe 4th year. 1 year seems to go on to the next of teaching online, and I teach level 1 Japanese.
It looks like you're being photobombed, Sarah, video bombed, whatever it is. Yes, I said also a mix of schools. You know, it's not, there's some urban, rural, etc., which shows that online learning is used by a variety of different schools. Now, what we'll do now, thanks for that, guys. We've got about, our viewers are sort of hovering between 3 and 5. Those who are watching, there's a Q&A. Feel free. Someone's put a message through, Justin. Feel free to send through any questions. Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll endeavour to answer all of those at the end. And we've started quite late, so we'll still try to finish around 4:30. There's no need to make it an extra long session. So, going back around, in terms of what I want you to think about and share is what you've learnt over the years, or in the year or last year or two, depending on how long you've been teaching in this environment, and what you've learnt in terms of this environment. What's it taught you? What sort of benefits do you feel you've gained from as a teacher? Now, hopefully everyone does feel they've had benefits from it. So just have we think and share some of the benefits in the journey, and I suppose some of the positive aspects of this, a lot of positive aspects, and perhaps some of the uniqueness as well. So a few of the things there. So Angela, you want to go?
Yeah, thanks. I've learnt heaps in the 2 years that I've been teaching online. Probably one of the big things that has hit me is that if I can plan my course to allow students to, you know, keep working at their own pace, it's going to be really beneficial, because, you know, all of my students, whether they're online or in my classroom, are learning at different paces, and so, you know, I don't have to keep everyone at the same spot. They can work ahead, and a lot of the learners that we have online really enjoy being independent learners and are quite self-motivated, so they want to be able to keep going with their learning if they've mastered something. So that's probably one of the big things, and I think it's taught me to expect more of my kids, because these online learners have actually really surprised me at how how they can self-manage and do more. And I think sometimes in my classroom I try to do too much for the kids instead of making them do the learning. So I think that's kind of it's expanded my horizons, I guess, working with kids in a different environment.
Yeah, I suppose there's a lot of expectation on teachers, isn't there, to sort of be the be-all and end-all for students, and some of the students expect that. And both students and teachers learn in this environment that it can't work quite that way. It doesn't mean that students aren't supported, does it? I mean, they can get plenty of support. It's not immediate support. That can be really good for them, because they've got to try and work things out, or work it out with other students, rather than immediately go to the teacher, which sometimes, I know as a teacher myself, even online, you know, you can get text messages from students, and the temptations, you want to help them. We all want to help them. It's not like we want to turn them away, but sometimes it's not a bad thing for them to try and struggle through some things and persevere a bit. Thanks for that, Angela. You've finished there? Not that you have to share anymore. Awesome. Okay, Carolyn?
I think it's got lots of benefits for both teachers and students. I really enjoy teaching this way. And I think that one of the things that it allows you to do is break down your course and offer more tailored learning for the students. So not everybody in a class has to do the same topic, which is really good. not everybody has the same preferences, and that's where we sometimes lose some of our students in face-to-face classes. So that's good, and you can carry that over. I think experience that I've gained, just lots of, not that I was technologically unsavvy, but lots of technologically savvy stuff that you can do now that you really didn't know how to do. And I've taught under a lot of different learning platforms over my time. So, and once you get to know one, it's easy to transfer the skills. So that makes it really easy as well. Yeah.
It certainly helps you keep up with the technology, doesn't it? You've got little choice. And there's still paper around. Many of our teachers still have paper-based workbooks or other things going on, but it is increasingly online, isn't it? And so it's quite good. And that flexibility is quite a key thing. I think a lot of teachers have talked about it, and students, the flexibility it provides. Nikki Davis even talked about that today in Morning Report, if anyone heard that. But yes, you remember Nikki, don't you, Justin? But anyway, feel free as well by the other teachers here. You can jump in and sort of build on what someone else has said, or ask them a question or whatever. You don't have to wait in line if you don't really want to. So feel like if you want to jump in, please do so. So Justin, it's your turn.
Well, everyone can jump in on what I have to say because it's quite similar, really. One of the big things for me was when I started teaching in this medium, I'd had a bit of experience in sort of learning through a blended learning project, different ways of sort of establishing an online platform and sort of teaching in that blended way of having online resources as well as the old paper-based resources and stuff like that. The big thing for me was it taught me different questioning techniques to try and draw the kids into answering the questions themselves. In the past, I was hopeless. I basically would ask the question, and 9 times out of 10, I'd probably end up answering it myself, which is not the ideal. So obviously, in this environment, you literally have to come up with different ways to draw the answers out of the students because you know they know the information. It's just getting that information out of them and then obviously getting it into a assessment type style, depending on what they're doing. The other thing that's really worked amazingly well for me is the skills that you've learned teaching online transfer into the classroom, and means that next week, for example, I'm away at tournament for the week. I'm able to still do my online lesson with my kids on Tuesday, and if any of the kids have any problems now, they're able to get in touch with me really quickly, and I can answer them or through Google Docs or their other documentation. I'm able to give them feedback throughout the week, so it's as though I'm not away. And I never would have learnt those skills if I hadn't taught in this online environment. And the last thing that I'd say is obviously the different platforms that Carolyn talked about. If I'd been still using Moodle now, I possibly would be a hell of a lot grayer than I currently am, and I'm very pleased that I am now using a website that I created, and all my stuff goes on there. So basically, the other flip side is if I keel over tomorrow from a heart attack of writing a week's worth of relief, all my stuff's online and people can take over. So you just pick it up and run with it. Whereas in the past, I didn't have that.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. I mean, anyone want to jump in on Justin there? Take over. Or you just want to wait for your turn? I'll come back to some of the things that Justin's talked about there. It made me feel...
I'll add on to Justin's comment because I also start from year to year rather than starting from scratch. You've got all your resources there. They're all in a set format and a topic-based, or however you've got them in a learning management system. And it's not a start from scratch. Every time you go to do your topic, you've got resources there that you can rely on or use or reuse. You repurpose them for the particular group you've got, but it's all in an organised place where you can find it. And as Justin says, if I wasn't here, then someone else would be able to get in there. Having said that, getting the students in there to use the resources regularly, you still get the email that says, can you send me the task sheet? I just refuse now. I just send them back the link to the class page so that they stop asking me to send them the resources, because I like to think that they're developing those self-managing skills as well. I might as well carry on while I'm here, Darren. My biggie is probably the students that I've met. And in fact, Gary met a mother of one of my ex-students from the West Coast that, you know, taking my course has changed her life, and she's headed off to Z school. So some of the really fantastic students I've met over the years, I hate to start that they're now getting married, having children, and that makes me feel a little bit old, but it's been a delight to meet these young people and work with them, and probably expanded my horizons as a teacher, having met, you know, students from different cultures and different regions, and having that opportunity to work with them. And it is like any teacher, you do follow those students and keep an eye on them as they move through their life. My biggie was a little bit like Justin. I pretty much operate the same way in my face-to-face classes now, and, you know, using Google Docs and everything to do all their work now. So, and I was completely the non-computer technological person. In fact, couldn't see how computer and technology had anything to do with each other when I first started, and I think people thought I'd be throwing it all through the television. But, you know, have learned a huge amount, both with my own learning online, and it's forced me to learn online and find out what it's like for the students to be an online learner. I think that's a really valuable thing to do as a teacher, to find out what it is like. But also, I've had huge opportunities through my being involved in this, opportunities to travel the world and everything that I would never have had, and have worked with some fantastic colleagues. So those are my 3 biggies. Have you got any biggies, Marie? No, Marie's slightly injured here, so she's just listening in today. We'll hand over to Marina, or whoever's next.
Oh, no, we're changing the rules, so I'm tired of going from left to right. So, sorry, Marina. So we'll just open it up, and you can just say whatever you want, and then you can actually keep coming in if you want to, you know, talk about something else. I mean, so Marina can come in certainly in a second. Just something that Justin said there. I mean, in terms of the students, has anyone got anything? Because that's one of the things that sort of that resonated for me, because I think it's really interesting to be able to teach this range of kids from often all over the country, which you never get that opportunity in a school. I mean, anyone got any interesting stories relating to, or experiences or thoughts about you know, the students you have, and perhaps one of the benefits of being that range of kids?
Well, one of the ones that I've had, because the last few years I've had some interesting students. I've had kids from Northland College all the way down to sort of South Otago High School, and it's quite amazing having those kids interact with each other, because I'm assuming a South Otago student is potentially not ever going to see a Pacifica student that's on a school that's got an actual working farm. And then talking and working with these students has been quite fascinating. And then you get the range of students that from Akaroa. Like, I've had some absolutely amazing kids from there, and then you get the typical ratbags. But what do you call them? The likeable rogues. So that complete sphere of kids that you get in your classroom, but you get characters that you would not normally get in your classroom, well, especially in Oxford area school. Different cultural groups. I was a bit disappointed this year. I was expecting a student from one of the Muslim schools up in Auckland, and I was looking forward to that, to seeing the aspect of what they could bring to a geography class. But you wouldn't get that in Oxford, trust me.
That's fantastic for the kids and the teacher, isn't it? They're just that range of experience. It brings a sort of richness to things that you wouldn't always get especially in a small rural area school. But you guys would know. Has anyone else got any comments on that?
I was going to say, it's quite cool when you can teach students who are in Auckland and Roxburgh, and then they can talk about the weather, and the Auckland ones are complaining about the rain and how cold it is, and then your Roxburgh student tells them what minus rating they had for the morning. So I always find that a great way to start. But I was going to say, one of the things that I've found challenging with teaching online was the inability to, well, the difficulty of contacting parents and having a relationship with parents. But this year I put myself out there a little bit more and have sent emails out to the parents, the ones that I can have been able to contact. And the other week I've got a young man in my class who's autistic. I wouldn't have known he was autistic until I had a conversation with his mother. And between her and I, we've actually been able to work out a plan for him to actually improve one of his assessments, and I'm hoping he's going to be able to get it up to achieved. So things like that, you know, is a little tiny frustration with teaching online. It's my only frustration. But otherwise, you know, there's means of finding out and helping them. And as Justin knows, some of us still won't give up on them even if they don't turn up to our class. You build a relationship with them even if you don't know them, and you keep persisting to the bitter end in the hope that you'll get them to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I've noticed in terms of this amendment, the reaction, especially on Twitter from educators and others around. I was surprised around online learning. I thought it was perhaps more accepted than it is by many, but there's a lot of negativity, you know, sort of shock horror, you know, by the working by themselves and just looking at a computer. What about the human factor? What about sort of community? What about you know, connections with people, etc.? It's like, come on, you can actually do more of that online, or potentially have more breadth than that online. And I always remember a classics class I had, which I remember with a lot of fondness, and the kids just connected. They just became friends, and there was a group in Akaroa, another group in Mount Hutt, another in Hurunui, so they weren't too far spread. There was some up north. But some of those kids became really good friends and ended up sort of catching up with each other face to face, and they just all clicked. And I think that's fantastic, especially for the kids. You know, I know the three in Akaroa. You know, they've got a small group of kids they grow up with, and they can't escape. That's the way they sort of put it. And then suddenly the world's opened up a bit more. And as a teacher, I thought I really, really enjoyed that. You just sort of don't quite get that in a normal classroom. They make connections, but there's sort of the usual thing, I suppose. Anyone else? So.
Yeah, what I was going to say.
We take a lot for granted. So when I have my northern students come down skiing, and I've got a big group coming this year, you know, a new experience like that they get to have, and I know with the students when they've gone up for their music, with Phil and things like that, they've had to really go outside their comfort zone, and it's been a huge challenge probably for them to, you know, get on an aeroplane and fly down to some teacher that they've only met online, and then put that trust in that group of people and be with them for, you know, the few days. But we do an assessment on, you know, groups and how they develop, and it's so amazing because they go through all the theoretical stages of a group forming in those few days, and then by the end they're long lost friends and they don't want to leave, and they're, you know, exchanging all their details and keeping in touch. And then also the students who have gone from here and end up at tertiary environments together, and end up in hostels and courses and things together. It's been great for our students here at Roxburgh. They used to believe that they were sort of had limited opportunity and their world was just the, you know, the valley. And now they've talked to, you know, the Prime Minister down to other important dignitaries all around the world, and have visitors from different schools here watching what we're doing. So just for them to realise that the world is actually watching them rather than watching the world is pretty amazing for our students to have that opportunity to see that what they're doing is actually, you know, breaking the boundaries of what we've traditionally thought education is. And of course, what's a surprise, well, not surprised me, but what astounds me every year is how quickly they adapt. So, you know, we are the dinosaurs that have to get with it, and some of the comments you're hearing, you know, on the media are simply people not adapting to what is now part of our world. This will be part of their working world, using technologies like this and using opportunities like this to work with colleagues around the world. So to me, it's only just really preparing them for their future. It's not, you know, it's not a second choice. It's actually, I would have it as a first choice. And both my children have gone through the school and had this opportunity and have done well in their tertiary studies. So I can talk from a parent as well as a teacher that in fact has set them up very well for their further studies.
I mean, as a teacher, Linda, and you're experienced in the environment, I mean, how much has it opened up things? I mean, how many teachers online teachers or teachers around the place would you know? I know the area schools tend to get together anyway, but have you found for yourself over the years that you've been able to connect far beyond what you would within Roxburgh?
Oh, it's been amazing. I can't give you a number down, probably in the hundreds now of teachers that I've met through through online or e-learning or NetNZ. And more importantly, people taking different subjects. I used to only really get together with my phys buddies and a few of my careers teachers. So now that I meet teachers teaching a whole range of curriculum, I've learnt so much more about how you teach specific subjects or different issues teaching specific subjects, and that's widened and broadened my horizons as a teacher, just to work with such passionate and and enthusiastic teachers has been amazing. And it's great to have those personal relationships. So when Marina and I catch up and see each other, we can chat about the daughters and things. So you do build it up on a personal level as well as a professional level as well.
Yeah, I actually think it's a good point about the cross-curricular thing. I hadn't really thought about that. It'd be great to be able to create more connections across for our teachers, etc. It's just the challenge of how you integrate that with everyone's busy world in school, and that's one of those challenges we can continue to try to meet. But Marina and Sarah, Marina, I'm not sure whether you had more to add, and sorry, it's my phone going. That's the wrong time for that to happen.
All right, Darren, you just said what I was going to say. You asked Linda this exact thing. I was going to say that one of the really cool things of being part of NetNZ has actually been meeting other teachers, being involved in professional development that I never would have been exposed to, being a single commerce teacher in a school actually, and yeah, we have area school collection, but on Jumbo Day, which we're having tomorrow, there aren't any other commerce teachers. Commerce teachers, and so if it wasn't for NetNZ and meeting Ange, I really struggled to actually be able to do simple things like moderation. And if it wasn't somebody as cool as Ange who's moderated all my economics for me, I would really struggle. So that's been one of the major perks for me.
Awesome, thanks for that. Sarah, we've got to you.
I'd have to agree with Marina, because I teach Japanese and I'm the only Japanese teacher in the school, so it's great when I catch up with, say, the Korean teachers or Midori with the other teachers there. And also another positive for me is it keeps me on my toes with professional development, because I'm not one of those techie people either, but I find I'm learning and getting better at using that technology all the time. And because I teach languages, you've got to look at all the different skills like listening, reading, writing, speaking. So I try to include all of those in a class setting. And I still use a textbook, but I'm also putting myself out there, finding new websites to give little cultural links for the students to go onto my Google community and watch at their own pace. Sometimes you have a range of abilities in the class, so I might have a part Japanese student in my class, and their spoken level is probably a lot higher than other people in the class. And so that would be a challenge, is trying to get everyone to sort of open up and ask and speak in the target language. But I normally do things like asking them what's the date, because it always comes up in externals, either being able to read and write the date. So getting them to practice. I take little video clips of me singing. They might think, who's this funny teacher, putting little video clips, but I enjoy putting myself out there and having a go. But it's trying to keep up with all the different new technologies and things that you can try to engage the students. So like I've tried using the Kahoots quiz games and having the students go on and practice those. That's been quite good. And I'm getting a lot better at doing screencasting, so doing simplified PowerPoints for my students, and even going over actual achievement standards and giving examples by just talking about them and posting them to go on and have a look at their own pace. So I suppose that's been quite good. But building those relationships is good as well.
Yeah, we have a tendency, yeah, in terms of instruction and the sort of giving of content, etc., it can be quite easily done through video, isn't it? And then the students can watch it whenever they want, rather than be tied to the time and place where you decide you're going to deliver it, if that's what you do. Has anyone got anything else to add to that discussion? I have something.
Yeah, I think I've got something to add, and that is that I think a lot of people think that online learning adds a lot of barriers for students. That's not been my experience. I mean, a few years ago, I had a student who was English as a second language, and she was only partially sighted. Now, that student accessed exactly the same material in exactly the same way with great success, simply because it was an online class. I mean, and I doubt that she would have done as well, you know, in a traditional class form, because the teacher might not have taken the time to have made that accessible to her. But there was very little that needed to actually be done to meet her needs.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of kids I mean, being a history teacher, I like lots of discussion and things like that, and that can be quite daunting in a face-to-face situation for kids, you know, when they're on the spot and have to try and come up with things. And one thing I've noticed with the online learning is when you have, outside of this sort of video conference environment, where you have the asynchronous chat where the discussions, etc., going on, a lot of kids can flourish in that environment who wouldn't normally in terms of discussion, because they're not put on the spot, because they've got time to think about it, because they haven't got people looking at them while they're talking, etc. So it gives them time to get their ideas out there and think, and to actually interact with others. And it's been quite a few times I've seen students like that who are reasonably shy, but they can get their thoughts and ideas out there in an online environment. It's good for them to do that. And then they can experience this environment, this hangout type environment, and sort of come out of their shells a wee bit. So especially as they get to know other kids. Thanks for that, Carolyn. The only thing in terms of I would add from my perspective, I suppose, I mean, it's had a major impact on my teaching. The unfortunate thing is I've not gone back into a face-to-face situation, so I'm an online teacher all the time, but it's significantly changed my teaching. I mean, I always thought I was fairly student-centered, but it wasn't until I did this that I realized that it wasn't as student-centered as I thought. And it's not until you're removed from the classroom and from being in front of the kids that I think you can start to explore that a bit more. And I really have enjoyed it. Certainly this idea, you know, when I was in the classroom, there was a sort of formula to delivery of lessons in terms, you know, your starter, some sort of activities for them to do, and then when they finish it, there was like a formula. We're going to do this today, and then you come to the lesson the next time, we're going to do this today. Whereas for me, it's a very fluid thing. You've basically set up, you know, the work or the activity for a week or 2 weeks, etc., and the students work through that at their own pace during that time. There's an end point, but there's a lot of flexibility in between that, and there's sort of no set, you must do this. And that can be challenging for kids who are used to being told we can only go do these things in the lesson. It's just a matter of giving those kids support. But that's perhaps my thoughts on it. Now it's 20 past, so what I thought it might do is, rather than delve into lots of details and other things, I think probably one of the things that many teachers find, and you may, you know, from my experience, this is one of the biggest challenges, is in this whole idea of engaging kids online. You know, a lot of people have this perception that, you know, they're online, they've got a teacher around them, so how are they going to stay motivated? How are they going to stay on task? How are they going to complete the work? And we know as teachers in this environment, that is one of the challenges, to keep kids. I can see you smiling, Marina, but can see the kids. Every year we get 2 or 3, maybe more, maybe less, who are challenged to just keep on task. And this idea of how we engage and keep kids learning online when we're not there in front of them, so they can easily escape or hide, which they can't always necessarily do in the classroom. Although, again, there's some good things about that. So it's not. I'm not going to go like left to right. Has anyone got any thoughts about how you go about? I mean, your experience, how you go about trying to engage kids in this online environment? What sort of things do you do, or have you tried that have worked or semi-worked? Any thoughts?
Well, I've had some interesting situations. So the first one for me would be um, the beauty of the situation in it being year 11, 12, and 13 classes is you have that added urgency of you want the credits, you got to do the work, so you need to engage. So that, to be honest, to a certain extent, that alleviates 80% of your issue in terms of your engagement. Now, Marina's going to come back with me with my two lovely darlings, and the fact that engaging them in anything is quite a massive advantage. Now, with some students, what I find the best way to get them to engage at any level is to actually get a relationship with them, so learn a hell of a lot about them very early on in the year, and then talk about that and use that during the topics as best you can, depending on the topics. Like I've got one kid from Akaroa who wants to be a paleontologist, and that's the end of it. That's all he wants to do. And I've never heard a kid with so much dinosaur knowledge in my life. Now, that doesn't fit with geography, but you can at least use his enthusiasm for that subject in your subject and in what you're doing. The kids that I've had that have been very disengaged, you require the EDeans to at least talk to you and explain to you what's going on. Now, for Marina, I haven't done that terribly well this year, to be fair, but that's the big key. It's having that relationship with the EDean to find out what's going on when a kid's not showing up, and then probably making sure that, worst case scenario, like Marina said, get in contact with home. I haven't got to that stage yet, but I think I will next year. In terms of just having a little bit more contact, I've had several students doing VC lessons Google Hangout lessons from home this year, which has been really unique as well, because you see mum walking past and she chimes in with a comment and stuff like that. So the parents know what's going on, so that's a bit of a bonus now. They sort of understand this medium. They've probably had other family members go through it, so yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry, just to jump in, just to clarify, I mean, there's plenty of kids who are disengaged face-to-face. Plenty of them. We just have that extra level of coercion available to try, and it doesn't even mean that they might comply. It doesn't necessarily mean we've engaged them. And they might do stuff and get stuff done, but it still doesn't mean they're necessarily learned either. So I suppose there's not a difference in terms of engagement. It's just that it's more difficult in an online book to bring that coercion to bear, and so I suppose you think about other ways of doing it. So thanks for that, Justin. But other ideas on that?
I was going to say that, yeah. I was going to say that one way I've found to keep building the relationship is I'm a little bit more structured. I'm not in how I deliver for level 1 economics, but what I do is have a weekly assignment, and that way it's my check-in that they are doing the work, and of course they only have a week to not get it in, and so therefore I'm following up with them, and then it takes, if they're still not, then I follow up with their EDean. But it's quite good because they know they're getting personal feedback because it's their personal assignment in a Google Doc, and I think that sort of continual feedback that for some of them they may not get in a face-to-face class because they're one of the many. I know that a lot of my level 1 guys really, really like that, and they ask me lots of questions through their assignments. Also, the other way I found engaging with them is to make sure that one of your first topics is one where you have them talking to each other and engaging with each other, so that you build the relationships amongst all of you. Of course, they have to come to your hangout, and that sort of makes it hard to build relationships when they don't even come to your hangout. But yeah.
Yeah, I interview kids from now and then, and there was a boy this year, it was really interesting, who was struggling to engage, and what he identified as one of the major factors for him was that there weren't many connections going on, so he felt sort of by himself, and so he didn't feel that he was really connected with other kids, and so he wasn't finding the motivation to keep going. Sometimes, sorry, I was just reading what Justin's saying. Sometimes if things are reasonably isolated, it's sort of not going to. Some kids fly; it doesn't matter. But others, they like to have that engagement with others, and that's why in the online medium, we sort of emphasise that whole connection and community so much, even though that in itself can be a challenge to get going. Other thoughts?
Well, I'm with Justin. I'm lucky that with my content I can actually individualise it, so they can choose a topic within my topic. So if they're into netball, it can be around netball. If they're into different sports, they can choose that as their context. But the assessment's still the same for everybody, but it does mean I might have 7 different contexts to mark. But that's actually interesting in itself because I learn from them as well. So, being able to individualise the learning right down to that level is really, really cool. And the second thing is too, I have a tutorial. So, like Marina says, it allows that individual feedback, and I use Google Docs as well. But it just does mean you've got that time to explain things. And, for maybe a student who missed a session or didn't quite grasp a concept, they know they can drop in, and it can be from 5 minutes to half an hour, or some of them are having required tutorials this week to get their assessments up to standard. But little techniques like that where you can actually do it. And also the triangle. Marina's got one of my boys, and the minute he posted on the very first day of her class, and then I said, oh, well done for posting, he realised that I could see things as well. So suddenly he didn't think it was just a relationship between him and Marina, that I was also just quietly in the background keeping an eye on things until he got well underway. So I think when they know that there's also another, supervisory role there, that they can't just disappear and we won't find out about it, etc., then some of those issues disappear. But yes, you do have the missing student, the mystery missing student, and they are very frustrating because you just want to reach out and grab them. But that's why you have wonderful EDs.
Yeah, and the EDing is a fundamental part of that. We can talk about that in a sec. But anyone else want to add anything else?
Yeah, I'll just add a couple of things. Probably it's the same as everyone else, but yeah, it's really good to know, to talk to the kids and work out what their goals are, because I teach at level 3, so a lot of them are heading off to university or, and really, I guess, single-minded in their approach, and so I have some that are even pushing me, to give them more and more, and then I have, those ones which you fight hard to engage. Probably I use a combination too, giving them choices in different assignments, and they can kind of pick their own topics, getting them to comment on each other's work, kind of peer review them, and that's part of, the evidence for assessment. So as Justin said, that kind of increases the incentive to get involved and to become part of the community. But yeah, I think if they can create those relationships with each other, it does make it smoother. And they want to be there and they have a bit of a laugh with each other. But every class is different, like you have in your own classroom. They create, that some years they're really tight, and then at other years they'll struggle to connect as well. But usually they'll find some friends and meet up, as you say, at university, when they all end up in the same spot, which is really cool for them.
I think that those relationships do help. And what Linda was saying before about feedback and the perception of online learning is there's less contact with the teacher, but in fact there's quite often more, because it can be a bit more individualised. I even find the Hangout experience, and about you guys, a far more sort of personal experience than what I felt with a face-to-face class. Depends how, I dealt with classes in big schools of 30 and over, so a bit different than perhaps a small area school, but quite difficult to give individual feedback to that many students. So has anyone got anything else to add?
I suppose you've got to be a bit more flexible with them. Like, I quite often are available in the evening to do one-on-one hangouts with students who are a bit shy in the class situation. So they'll just text me and say, oh, you're available tonight, or they'll email me and say, when do you have free time? And I'll give them a couple of options of when I have a free period or a lunchtime or an evening, and so they quite often will do one-on-one hangouts, and it might only be for like 10 minutes while I ask the question and clarify things. And in languages, they also do a written portfolio. So if they don't, they're allowed to draft it over the year. So if they want feedback, I sort of put the onus on them to share it with me early if they want good feedback, because I have had the odd student who have given me their final draft and they've not read the instructions properly and have sort of failed it at the last minute. But generally the students are pretty good. And also with this year, my students have been really good at being online, and if they haven't been online, I've been pretty quick to let the ED know, and it's been sorted pretty promptly. So that's been...
Yeah, I found being flexible with kids is really important in the online situation, especially as they're learning their way. Now, has anyone got anything else to add? Good discussion, that one. There's, I mean, some key things there, isn't there? We talked about relationships, whether it's between students or students and teacher, and the whole idea of feedback. The on-site support is vitally important, and we all know that with the ED and whatever's going on, and then the support the students get on site. And there's also things where we consider that the same challenges or things we do in the face-to-face classroom in terms of trying how we engage kids. They're providing choice and sort of personalising more, or giving the kids more ownership of what they're doing and agency, etc. So that's a big thing I've been sort of trying out over the last couple of years. I've got to say that my group this year is the most frustrating group I've had in a very long time, but that's largely around the sort of dispositions they have in terms of the attitudes, how they've come to what they've come to the table with in terms of their skills and attitudes, and it's how we get these kids into this environment able to flourish all the time. Same with face-to-face. So, right, has anyone got anything else to add? Now, we had a few viewers out there at various times. There are some left. Has anyone got any questions I'd like to feed through? You can just feed it through the Q&A. Feel free to do that. I haven't received any so far, which is fine. These guys are doing a pretty good job of giving some insights. No? Okay, I want to thank you guys for coming along. Oh, there we go. Thanks for putting a question through, Sophie. So, do you also teach Year 9 and 10 through online education? Yes, we do. Not in all courses. We especially do in languages. So we have a lot of beginners courses and pre-NCA courses in languages. So that's where we tend to focus Year 9 and 10. We've had some special sort of project type courses from time to time. Linda, is there anything else I haven't thought of in the past that's been done at junior level, or anyone else you can think of?
No, we have had the odd shorter course where they've had a specific need with a group of students, and we've designed something specifically for that. And I know on the VLN, certainly they've done that with, in the North Island, they've done some quite specific things around a cluster of schools and things like that. So it's quite doable. It doesn't have to be a full year course. It can be a few weeks, or you have a specialist teacher where you've got a particular, you know, a dance teacher or something that you may not have, that you can bring in through this medium. We've done that in the past. I know we've had an issue up north this year. Someone's physics teacher just left on leave, and we were, between the network, being able to find a teacher that could fill that gap. Even though they weren't in that school, they could actually help out with those real subject specific needs for a particular school, maybe for a short term if there's a staff member away or something like that. So we're pretty flexible, and we can design whatever program schools really need. But my only comment would be, the sooner they get in this environment and learn the skills and learn the etiquette, then the better e-learners they become in the long run if they want to do a full-time course in it. And you know, I know students have gone off and done full-time tertiary, you know, online learning. So any experience they can have, be it a junior language or anything, is really, really valuable. I think every student should have the opportunity to do at least one online course somewhere in their years at secondary school, or even primary for that matter. A lot of them will be coming through with us with these skills to us, challenging us as teachers because they'll already have all the skills, hopefully.
Yeah, I've got a student that did level 2 maths this year that's really, really keen to do all her subjects online next year. I'm hitting a few brick walls on that one in terms of people here going, oh hell no. But she's enjoyed it so much this year that she wants to do all her courses next year online, which I think is a win for us, which means that things are going really well for her in this medium and she enjoys it. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I certainly had a student about 3 or 4 years ago who did 4 courses online, but she was amazing. Like as a student, she was super bright and switched on and had all those skills, so it allowed her to manage her time how she wanted. So in short, we certainly do have courses available. Year 9, 10, they tend to be around languages. Largely, historically what we've been driven by is the needs of our schools, which are around NCEA and senior courses. Now, with funding, we could certainly explore, and we wanted to for some time, programs at the junior level. But at the moment we're constrained by what our schools can do. So watch the space, I suppose, in terms of over the next year or two. We'll see what happens. Any other questions out there? And answering your second question, Sophie, yes, that's possible. It could be. Right. Well, thanks ever so much, guys, for giving up your time and coming along. Even some of you coming in from home, which is one of those benefits. Teaching online, the kids can come in from home and so can the teachers. Really appreciate it. This video is recorded, so it will go on YouTube. So if you really want to watch yourself, and later on you can. I won't be, but anyone else who hasn't seen it, what we'll do is advertise it because it does you've given a fantastic insight into what it's like. We could talk for another 2 or 3 hours, I think, but we'll let you guys get home or get on and do what other things you need to do. Okay, so thanks for coming along, and we'll catch you again. See you later.
Bye.